Before Eminem broke out in hip-hop, other hip-hop artists used slurs, and depending on who you ask, hip-hop was misogynistic and violent, but since Eminem's rise to fame was one that hip-hop had never seen before based on the facts, and because of this attention, Eminem was attacked for his lyrics, and this attack was from the lowest point of media journalists on radio shows to the highest point of the American government. Top politicians called for a reform of the entertainment industry, and Eminem was at the center of this chaos at that time. As expected, Eminem is not one to just sit around and do nothing, and in White America, the opening song of the Eminem show, Eminem addresses this issue. Welcome back, and if you're new to the channel, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. And don't forget to like this video if you enjoy content like this. Eminem starts the intro of the song by highlighting what the government was attempting to do because of his music, which was an attempt to withhold freedom of speech and only allow what's deemed appropriate. But one thing we've learned about this is that since they were unable to pass a law to ban artists like Eminem, they succeeded in using the media to force artists to change their lyrics with the tactic of fake outrage that people on social media fall for so often. And even recently, Eminem's Kamikaze album received fake outrage because Eminem pointed out that Tyler calls himself a. The first verse starts with Eminem talking about how his rise to fame was something he never expected, and also the fact that many people could relate to his music was something he never envisioned. In addition, Eminem had a stance on the Iraq War at that time, and many people also shared his views, and we all know how true Eminem fans have got his back any time of the day, and Eminem likens this to soldiers walking behind him. Eminem was able to use his anger to his advantage, and just before the Eminem show on MMLP, Eminem was able to capture his anger to set the industry on fire. It didn't matter to him, anyone could get it, including his mother, his ex-wife, media journalists like Benzino, and the list goes on, and with all this, he was still able to make songs that get stuck in your brain like Without Me, Cleaning Out My Closet, and even his first hit single, My Name Is. Like I pointed out earlier, some people at the highest point of the government tried to use the law to censor Eminem and ignore the fact that his albums came with the sticker that says explicit content. So instead of parents doing their jobs, they tried to use the law to censor Eminem. Barbara Lynn Cuban, former Republican member of the United States House of Representatives, and other Republicans on the panel tried to pressure the RIAA in a congressional hearing by reading out the lyrics to songs like Kill You. The chorus of the song kicks in, and here are some of the hidden meanings of the chorus. Eminem is well aware of the fact that many white American kids look like him, white and blonde, and this makes it easier than ever for these kids to relate to him, and parents hate him for that. The second line, you see the name Eric, and for those who don't know, Eric Harris was one of the perpetrators of the Columbine High School massacre, because violent music was also blamed as a contributing factor to the massacre. It's also important to add that the name Eric is embedded in the name America, at the middle, and this song is mostly aimed at middle white America. Erica is also within the name America, and this stresses Eminem's point that he's not only loved by the boys but also the girls of America. TRL was MTV's show Total Request Live, and artists that came on the show were mainstream icons loved by teenagers, especially teenage girls, the boy bands, the pop princesses, but Eminem, an unusual icon, made a memorable appearance on TRL and actually ended up having the second most iconic video on TRL's final top 10 with The Real Slim Shady. The United States is a majority white country, and Eminem is aware that after he blew up, the fact that a majority of the population based on race were like him played to his advantage, and Eminem is known to let things out before critics use it against him, and Eminem drops this down as "I'd have sold half if I was black." Many Eminem critics use this bar as fact when stating Eminem is only successful because he's white, but what they forget is that the previous bar doesn't paint the overall picture of what Eminem was trying to say. Just after that, Eminem states this to remind people that just because he's white doesn't mean he's some pop star that doesn't have the talent to match with his success, And since this is all maybe, since we don't know for a fact how things would have turned out if Eminem was black, no one knows for sure. Just like Rakim said, it'd probably be viewed as the Ali of hip-hop at the moment, even if he didn't sell as much. And the facts show that race in America doesn't really affect sales based on how artists like James Brown, Jimi Hendrix, Bob Marley, Tupac, Prince, Michael Jackson, and many others have performed. So if Eminem only sold because he's white, how do we explain the success of other black legends? Even MC Hammer had a diamond album with pure sales of over 10 million by understanding what his audience wanted. So it's not really about race, you just have to make music that the majority can relate to, and this doesn't have to be bubblegum pop music either. Eminem expands on how things started in the beginning for him, when the stumbling block in his way for a fact was his skin color, and we know that Eminem and Dr. Dre pretty much saved each other's careers. Dre was sinking before he signed Eminem and was on borrowed time because of Jimmy, and Eminem was at the brink of retiring before Dre found him. But as soon as he found success, critics wanted to ignore all the work he put in and simply discredit him by stating he's only successful because he's white, an opinion that's based on what-ifs and maybes, since no one really knows how things would have turned out, and Eminem has the technical ability, delivery, lyricism, and emotion in his music that can't be matched by any artist in hip-hop across this point in my opinion. The fact that Eminem could deliver with so much emotions in his words is a contributing factor to why politicians and media journalists take his lyrics literally. It's like an actor that's so believable that it goes beyond acting for the audience. Many kids in the poor communities were used to what the mainstream considers slurs and violence in music, but since it wasn't on a mainstream level, parents in middle and upper class America had the approach of, since my kids don't listen to this kind of music, it's not my problem. But when they realized that Eminem's music was reaching their children, they now felt the need to complain and protest against his music because little Eric was now rapping verses from Cleaning Out My Closet. Straight out the tube means right from the studio. Eminem dominated the choice of music that was played by younger people in America, and the fact that a hip-hop legend, Dr. Dre, was behind him made hip-hop fans take him seriously because the Doctor was already established. This was also great marketing for Eminem because many of his tracks weren't actually produced by Dr. Dre, including this one, but Dre was all the public needed to see to jump in, just the same way the tracks on Kamikaze weren't actually produced by Dre, but with Dre serving as the executive producer, fans knew Kamikaze was gonna be lit. Once again in this section of the verse, Eminem is aware that since the majority of the population shared the race factor with him, they could relate to his music. Another thing I'd love to add is that since Eminem's music doesn't qualify as gangster music, this was also an advantage to him since the majority of the people in the world aren't part of gangs, but could relate to subjects like bullying and being an outcast, just like Eminem. Of course, as the powers that love to control the public realized that Eminem was taken off, so they try to censor him and control what he's allowed to talk about in his music, and the bar about rope tightening around his throat is a direct reference to how they try to stop him from speaking his mind. When the politics doesn't work, they try to go after your money and put pressure on sponsors to drop you, and this was the case with Eminem, and even governments around the world have tried to stop him from performing. And this has happened in Canada, for instance. The bit about Harlem and Boston is Eminem touching on the fact that areas that were used to hip-hop like Harlem understood that this is just music because of their experience with hip-hop in general. But in areas that hip-hop was only a new thing like Boston, parents believed that hip-hop needed to be censored, especially artists like Eminem, because now their kids and even daughters now listen to Eminem. Eminem uses bars to expose the hypocrisy of white middle-class parents who are only now concerned about the well-being of the American youth because hip-hop music is just reaching their doorsteps now on the mainstream level. Eminem also points out the hypocrisy of political activists here, since it's only when he started to blow up that they began to push against the use of slurs in songs. To an extent, they have succeeded in recent years to suppress certain slurs in hip-hop music, and Eminem is pretty much the only mainstream hip-hop artist that can speak his mind without censoring himself. The rest are afraid of losing sponsorship deals. Remember what Eminem said on Medicine Man in Dr. Dre's Compton? Any other rapper says that, and the next day, you'll hear about how they lost their deals with Nike, despite the sticker on these songs that states explicit lyrics. But Eminem remains one of the last artists that can still speak about what everyone is thinking but afraid to say, and he acts as the spokesman, the poster child for white America. White America focused on highlighting the hypocrisy of middle to upper class white America that only took issue with his music and hip-hop in general when it became the favorite of their children, but turned a blind eye when it didn't affect them, and Eminem sums this up superbly in this track, and this remains one of Eminem's best album opening songs to this day. If you'd like to support the channel, donate to our PayPal at the link in the description. Leave your thoughts below, subscribe if you haven't, and don't forget to like this video as this helps expand the reach of the video. Thanks for watching, ET signing out.